Hello, everyone. It is Carla, the Cosmic Crone. That's me. And I am here with the Scorpio New Moon Divine Feminine Astrology reading. Oh, and it feels so good. It's gotten so cold in Maine all of a sudden, and I'm here in my studio with my gas fire behind me. Good Scorpio weather. If you've been following my page, my group, you know that I've had an adventure with the grouse. On Thursday, a grouse flew into a window in my house and died. And this is the third grouse to sacrifice in a year. So that's 3 episodes of grouse medicine, sacred dancing and drumming. Wow. And yesterday, I cooked and ate the grouse for my family. And here's a secret. I didn't tell them that they were eating medicine. So the fact is, the entire family has now committed to connecting with grouse medicine, the rhythms of life, sacred dancing and drumming. And I wonder what's coming next. So that all happened on Friday the 13th, Witches' Day. And I'm fond of Friday the 13th because I became a mother on Friday the 13th in 1978. My first son was born. And it's the day before new moon, the Scorpio new moon. And this new moon is dredging up all the things we don't talk about. And the chart is showing how we can start talking about them and how we can use this energy to begin to notice, what are we holding inside? What are we carrying that no longer serves us, that it's time to metabolize and release? How do we work with the energy right now? So the new moon is tonight at 23 degrees and 18 minutes of Scorpio. It's in the 24th degree of Scorpio. Moon and sun in exact conjunction. And they are making a close arrangement, a close communication. I call it singing in close harmony with Capricorn planets that have been active for a couple of years. And that's actually a quadruple conjunction. If you count Saturn, there's 5 planets in a loose conjunction. But we've still got Pluto and Jupiter within a quarter of a degree of each other. And we have Pluto and Pallas Athene within a quarter of a degree of each other. So, and then right behind that is Chariklo and Saturn. So those Capricorn planets that have been active really ever since 2016 to one degree or another are active now, and they are activated by the Scorpio moon. Secrets will come out. And we can certainly look at that on the national level, but all you have to do is tune into the headlines on your favorite news media, and you've got that. So I'm going to talk about what it means for you personally, because how we are going to shift the energy in the world and create the world that we want starts with dealing with what's going on inside of us. And I've been doing work in my group for women, the Womb Wisdom Portal, Womb Talks, about dismantling inner patriarchy, tools for metabolizing the poisons and effects of patriarchy. And this Scorpio moon is actually bringing all of that to the surface. And I felt it today. I was up at dawn looking at Venus and Mercury and feeling the new moon rising with the sun and noticing which of my shadows were coming up, the shadows that I don't look at, the things that I repress, that I ignore, that I don't realize are affecting me. And it was a great gift to kind of look at that and say, holy shit, I didn't even realize that I had all that going on. And it was undeniable, unescapable, right there in front of me. Well, of course, you've got this going on because you feel that way. And it had to do with shame. And I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But let's just take a quick look at where this is showing up in the chart. So in Scorpio, we are dealing with the things we don't talk about: sex, death, money. And those are all things, they're all related to our second chakra, our root chakra, our survival, our self-worth, and our creativity and our power. And you might think, well, power and sex and love are all positives, except that we have been taught to suppress them and to feel bad about most of what goes on. We have been conditioned to never feel good enough, lovable enough, sexy enough, beautiful enough, powerful enough. And that plays out in our fear of change and our fear of money and our fear of being at ease with ourselves and with money and with creativity and with sexuality, with our gender, with our, male or female, where we walk through most of our lives feeling inadequate or ashamed about something. And this is intentional. It is intentional by the patriarchy, by the institutions, by government, by religions, to make us easy to control. And our great work in the world involves shining a light on that, recognizing it for a lie, and learning to walk through it. You don't really make it go away. You just kind of recognize that it is of no consequence, and you do what you do and be who you are anyway. So the moon, the new moon, is like opening this portal that says, walk through, look all that stuff square in the eye, turn on your headlamp, go deep, shine a light, banish shame. That word has been coming up a lot lately. All the witches are talking about it. I think it's the time of year, the dark time of year, the crone time. And all of that helps us with this material that brings up sensations of inadequacy and shame and points to the beliefs that are holding us back. So rejoice, rejoice. We need this time of year to clean house. And it's a subtle internal house cleaning and having this close harmony with the planets in this kind of stellium of a conjunction, to use the jargon of astrology. All of those planets are being triggered by the new moon. And so as you look at your own life, chances are one or more of these planets is really shining a light on your stuff. So Pluto, death and transformation. Jupiter, abundance, plenty. We actually feel a lot of shame around abundance, privilege, and plenty. Or we feel shame because we don't feel that we have enough abundance, privilege, or plenty, or we don't feel deserving of what we have or what we want. We have complicated feelings about even desiring any of that. See what I mean? Pallas Athene, intellectual strength. Shame undermines our intellectual strength, our capacity to be of strong mind, to have a resourceful and abundant mindset. Chariklo, you might not know who she is, but she is a goddess of healing, a goddess of nature, water. I tend to associate her with plant medicine and herbs. We may feel, how would she be triggering our shame? Well, she might denote our magic and our medicine, and we may be stifling that because we've been given over to shame about our gifts and our powers. And then Saturn. Saturn we associate with the stern father, or the preacher, or the teacher, or somebody who tells us what to do and tells us that we're wrong and that we're bad, that we're breaking the law, we're breaking a rule. Saturn has that aspect. That's not all that Saturn does, though. Saturn is like your skeleton that holds you up and your skin that holds you in. An astrologer I worked with once said Saturn in the pot, Saturn is the hand on the outside when you're creating pottery that keeps the clay from flying off the wheel. Jupiter pushes out from the inside to expand. Saturn holds it in to make sure that it goes up and has its shape and its form. Saturn is necessary. And so I would encourage you to create a space, a form, a cauldron in which to explore. What are you feeling right now? What is coming up in this dark of the moon, in the dark of the year? And the other aspects, that, especially Chariklo and Saturn, they are communicating with the dark goddess up in Taurus, the Lilith star Algol. And they are, that communication, Algol has been so important for the last 2 years. And she will continue to be important as Black Moon Lilith moves through Taurus. And Mars will come to Taurus, and before you know it, Venus will be back in Taurus. And all of these planets are making aspects to Algol. And this goddess, this demonized feminine power, is arising. It is coming into consciousness. It's breaking through. It is no accident that we have a woman in the White House, in the office of Vice President, who, good health and long life to Joe Biden, but she's next in line as of January 20th. This matters. This matters, that the dark feminine is rising, and that the dark goddess, she's only dark, well, she's dark because the dark goddess is, she lives in our wombs, she lives in the underworld, she lives at the center of the earth, she lives in the black hole at the center of the galaxy, she lives in the nucleus of each of our cells. And she has been hidden and suppressed and demonized. And when she comes back into the light, this is the connection to shame that I was alluding to earlier. We have been taught to be ashamed of her. And when she comes into the light, she banishes shame. So the journey, the work of this new moon, the ritual that I invite you to, is to notice where you feel shame. Where is shame holding you back? Where is shame making you want to hide? Because if you remember, if any of you grew up in a Judeo-Christian milieu, Even if you weren't terribly religious, you know about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and the fig leaf. It comes through art history, if nowhere else. And what happened? Suddenly, they felt ashamed. What had been pure and natural and normal and celebratory and joyful, their sexuality, their divinity in a human body, became shameful. And they hid. And that's what shame will do to us. It will make us hide. So look at where you're hiding and note it. Know. And you may or may not need to dig up and say, what am I ashamed of? But chances are, when you put a light on it, you'll say, oh, that? Wow, I didn't even know that was active in me, because shame is sneaky. And it will sneak up on you. It will draw you into the shadows with it. It will beat you up until you're mostly dead. And it will say, it will sit on you and say, I won, I win. Well, we can't let shame get away from that. And the dark goddess is our ally, because she knows that the only reason she is demonized is that patriarchy did that to her. And the minute we look at her, we see her. She is light and truth. And yes, she is fierce. And yes, she includes the dark and the light. But she also includes the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine, the up and the down, the in and the out. She contains it all. She is our ally. And she is opposite, almost. She's almost, the moon by tomorrow morning will be opposite her. And she's in opposition to the Scorpio moon. And there's a lot else that's going on too. Let's talk about it. The first thing that I noticed is that the rising sign of this full moon, this new moon, is in Virgo, and Vesta, the high priestess, is rising. She is still just below the horizon. She's still in the 12th house place. Vesta, the priestess, is in that dream that we're having just as we rise to consciousness and we feel ourselves waking up and we're holding on, saying, oh, I'm dreaming. What is my dream? That's where Vesta is right now, or will be at midnight tonight when the moon is new exactly. And so there she is at 8.5, Virgo, rising. She is dawning with us. She is waking up with us at the time of this new moon. And so the work that we do with the dark goddess calls upon our inner priestess. Vesta holds the light, and for women, that light is in your womb. That light is on the altar in your womb temple. Your sexual energy, your erotic power, your libido, your creativity. And she's holding the light. That altar is the altar to the dark goddess, the littlest star. And she's inside of you. Both of them are. So in your Scorpio ritual, when you light the candle, or maybe you're in a place where you can go outdoors and light a fire under the stars, you can tune in to that light in your womb and that priestess, and let that light shine on the places where you have been hiding, where you feel shame. Because shame is learned. We're not born with it. It doesn't belong to us. It has been planted in us. And there's more. because that rising Vesta is in a grand earth trine formation. She is making kind of like an earthen pot, the cauldron that I talked about. Vesta is one angle of that cauldron, that triangle. The other two angles, one is Lilith asteroid. Lilith asteroid is the disowned feminine inside, the feminine wound. And that feminine wound takes the shape, the shadow, the ache of shame. And so this is so clear that this is the work we are meant to do right now. And she's at 9 in the 10th degree of Capricorn and connected to Uranus and Albion. Albion is the thresholder, the one who says, step over the door, step through the door. And stepping through the door is saying, I am willing to change. Going through a portal or a doorway or crossing a threshold is an age-old metaphor for transformation, for both death and birth. And the new moon is itself a portal. It's a portal that we have every 29 days. And it is opening into a brand new moon cycle, and it is opening now into the Scorpionic moon cycle, where we have 29 days, especially for the next 14 until full moon, to do that work, to be fully supported as we go into the Lilith space, as we go into the disowned feminine. And men and women both have this disowned feminine aspect, or that disowned, wounded aspect of where we, shame tries to hide it from us, and then we try to hide it from the world. So we are being told, we are being directly supported and kind of funneled into the space where we can sit with that, and sit with that lovingly. This is not a time, it would be tempting to let shame heap judgment and pain and suffering and struggle. And that's not what it's for. It is for sending love, sending love, sending love. That erotic flame that Vesta is keeping in your second chakra space, male or female, you are lighting that up, lighting it on fire, amplifying it, breathing into it, dancing with it, drumming with it. This is the grouse that I started the presentation with. The grouse that came to me, I share that medicine with you. Get a drum or a rattle, or move your body, stomp your feet, and build up that fire and shine that light, burn off that shame. Because the world, first off, needs you shining and showing up. And shame serves no one. Shame is like death. So what else do we have? Okay, Albion is the threshold where you can go through, and on the other side, you see, this is the thing. I was spending some time with this before I came on, doing a little bit of my own shame mining. And it's like shame comes up for me a lot. As a good Southern Baptist girl, I know a lot about shame, and I have learned that you don't necessarily make it go away. What you do is you walk through it and leave it behind you. One of my teachers used to say, turn towards the light. Don't look at the shame. Turn your back on the shame and look at the light. You're still casting the shadow, but it's behind you. Look at the light. look at the truth. And I was gifted today by someone acknowledging how my presence in their life has supported and helped them. And that was a way of looking at the light. In fact, the light kind of grabbed me and turned me towards it. So look at your own light and tune up that fire within you, because that is the light inside of you, and it will shine out of your face when you fill yourself up with it. And that is work that Uranus can do. Uranus is like lightning. Uranus is the spiritual epiphany. Uranus is the thing that changes everything, and it can change on a dime. And we are constantly working with Uranus energy, because we are constantly choosing, am I going to be resourceful and look at the light and move forward in spite of my fear or my doubt? That's the only way that we can live, because we all have fear and doubt. And courage is moving through fear. It's not banishing fear, making fear go away. How many times have I had to just soothe a client by saying, don't wait for the fear to go away. It doesn't. The definition of courage is feel the fear and do it anyway. What does courage feel like? It feels like fear. Isn't life grand? Isn't it wonderful to be human? Isn't it wonderful to be divine in a human experience? What else have we got going on? There's one more aspect I want to talk about, and that is a T-square. Our beautiful morning star, the shining goddess Venus, who rises about an hour or so, maybe a couple of hours before the sun right now. She's opposite Eris, the goddess of discord. And they are in a T-square, again, to the Pluto-Jupiter Pallas Athene conjunction. And a T-square means they are rigid, they're kind of locked. They're holding this pattern, and it can feel like pressure. And yes, we are feeling the pressure. This new moon is putting the pressure on. Do not ignore the stuff. No rugs are being swept under today. You feel this thing. And what is going to break the energy, release that energy? Well, dancing and drumming will release it. The fire will release it. Going in, turning towards the light will release it. Acknowledging, I wrote a blog post once about shame. It almost had a poetic effect. It was kind of fierce. And it was, I felt blocked by shame. I felt like the world had just dropped a huge boulder in my path, and it was so big I couldn't get over it, around it, certainly couldn't get under it. And it felt like shame. It felt like shit. It was horrible. And in working with this thing that was in front of me, I gradually just kind of looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and it became this beautiful little striped pebble, black and white striped pebble. I think I actually found one of those on my woods walk, and I picked it up and I said, this is the shame. It's just a tiny pebble. It is no longer a big boulder in my path. It's a little pebble that I can put in my pocket. Remind me of my power. So that's the invitation I want to leave you with. In whatever way works for you, recognize that you can think of it in so many ways. You can, with your imagination, shrink that boulder of shame until it's just a little pebble you can pick up, hold in the palm of your hand. Or you can feel yourself grow gigantic, massively huge, like Jupiter, biggest planet in the solar system, biggest thing besides the sun. You can, until you grow so big that that boulder, you look down and you say, oh, it's the size of a pebble. This is the power that we have. And you have all these resources, Vesta rising, the dark goddess opposite the moon, the sun and the moon together in Scorpio, saying, part the veils, go within, look at it, triumph. You've got this. And I am available too. This is the work that I do with women. So if you could use some help, reach out to me and we'll talk about how that might look. All right, your mission, should you choose to accept it over the next 48 hours or the next moon cycle, the next 14 days, go inside, look into the dark places and shine a light. And you don't have to do it alone. Blessed new moon to you all. I love you. Thank you.